me then ask you, Mr. Jaitley, about the state of the economy and what can we now expect in terms of the next big trigger? Of course, 1st of July, as and when it happens, the GST will be one of the big economic triggers. But what else?
The GST is a big trigger. And then collectively between the centre and the states, I think whatever are our programs in the pipeline, particularly infrastructure and rural-centric programs, the next 1 or 2 years we have to go and implement them in a big way. I think there are enough funds available within the system of the central and the state governments, and I think this is the right time for governments now to spend.
Sir, is the universal basic income scheme possibility, has that now moved beyond the realm of just being an idea which was floated in the economic survey by the chief economic advisor? Does it have legs to it?
I think the economic survey always gives freedom to the chief economic advisor and his colleagues to float good ideas. Last year, if you recollect, one of the most significant parts of the economic survey was, what are the manners in which we are subsidizing the rich? So we come out with these populist schemes, and eventually a large number of those schemes help not only those where they are targeted, but you end up helping the rich. And I think Arvind Subramaniam flagged that big issue.
He also flagged a bad bank, sir.
No, that's an idea of a public sector agency that he has floated. I'll deal with that separately since you've repeatedly asked that question. Let me finish the UBI. As far as the UBI is concerned, it's an idea which he has floated. And even before he floated it, it got marginally reflected in the budget speech of one of the state budgets. Jammu and Kashmir budget of all the states. The finance minister of J&K referred to it. And the whole idea is that if a certain number of subsidies which the central government gives to a given state can be substituted and added to a certain number of subsidies that the state government gives. And both these collectively form a corpus, and this corpus becomes the basic income which is insured to the BPL category in that state. So a family, let us say, receives a check of 80,000 or 1 lakh rupees in a year. If there was a substitution of some of these subsidies which are totaled up and removed. Now, I think if it can be implemented, I've always considered it a very good idea. And therefore, I am very supportive of the suggestion that this issue has been flagged. But before this good idea is damaged in any way, I think everybody should seriously in the states discuss this, because Indian politics is capable of coming to a conclusion. Let the existing subsidies continue and let UBI be over and above that, which means all state and central governments become bankrupt, which obviously can't be the objective. So it has to be in substitution. Now, any state government which is willing to take that chance, I think has the option of considering a pilot project. In fact, the J&K Chief Finance Minister has come and even made a presentation to me as to how the figures can add up. At first sight, it looks very attractive, but I think it has to be examined in detail.
So I did an interview with Uday Kotak yesterday, and Mr. Kotak seemed to suggest that the government needs to give a signal to the private sector that the private sector should be willing to undertake risks and do business openly and fearlessly and unleash the animal spirits. I don't know what, and I asked him repeatedly, what signal do you want from the government? He just said we need a signal from the government to unleash the animal spirits. You're talking to CEOs of India Inc. today, sir. What is the message that you would like to leave them with?
Well, I think the private sector needs to give a signal to itself. As far as the government is concerned, the government has given more than the signals which are required. Ordinarily, in an economy which is a market-centric economy, it's the private sector which leads the way and the government which follows. When there are challenges, public spending and government policies have to take over. We haven't gone back ever on that responsibility. And therefore, the series of steps, one after the other, which have been taken in the last 32 or 33 odd months, is actually been in the last few decades unprecedented. It's probably after the few months of 1991, these are the series of steps which have been taken. So has the government been proactive? The answer is yes. Has the government hiked up its spending? The answer is yes. Has the government's policies been business friendly? The answer is yes. And yet if somebody says, give me more signals, then I think they need to restudy what's happening.
So, Mr. Jaitley, let me end then by asking you, sir, around the budget time, you get a long list from industry on what exemptions they would like and what they would like the government to do. What is your ask of industry today, sir? And they're all listening to you. You have a captive audience.
You see, Indian industry has a great sense of entrepreneurship. And I think Indian industry conventionally, even when the going was not so good, has delivered in the past. Now, at the moment it faces a unique challenge. And that unique challenge is that during that boom period, 2003 to 2008, they expanded. And since then, the global economy has been facing challenges, domestic challenges have been there. But at the same time, I think one of the strengths of India has been that many an occasions when challenges have been faced by the rest of the world, we've managed to defy them. And therefore, that's one of the few reasons why 2008 didn't hit us so badly, or the East Asian crisis didn't hit us so badly, or for that matter, the slowdown in the last 2-3 years, we've managed to somewhat escape out of it. And I think India's sense of resilience is hugely on account of the sense of entrepreneurship. Now, I can quite understand the problem, the demand issues relating to particular sectors, which each one of them we've been trying to address. And I think the Indian industry has to carry on, and they know what to do.
So as Finance Minister, do you feel more confident in 2017 than you did in 2016?
You see, I'll tell you, one reason that gives me a positive feeling, in brief, is that India as a country has become far more aspirational. And the consequential impact is, never in Indian history in the past has decision-making been as easier as it is today. It's not merely because of the parliamentary figure. It's also because the country is so aspirational that people, by and large, stand behind bold moves. We've seen that amongst a large number of steps which we've taken. Now, there will be a restlessness. Why does GST not come fast? There will be a restlessness as to why we should be slow on any form of investment. Why is infrastructure building a little slow? There will be restlessness because of this, which I think is a very positive sign as far as India is concerned. And therefore, I think each year that passes by is going to make every Indian, not only me, happier than we were in the previous year.
Mr. Jaitley, always a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.